Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, October 12th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A day of mourning and of seeking answers as residents in one Santee neighborhood try and process what happened on their street. Federal investigators turned their attention to fact-finding and what caused a small plane to go down. And tonight we are also learning more about the victims. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live in Santee at the scene of the crash to provide us with an update. Matt?
Yeah, Maya, we are out here at the scene of that deadly crash in Santee, and NTSD federal investigators are out here conducting their investigation of the crash. Actually, if you look here behind me, they're actually removing a bunch of debris from where that plane went down and hit a couple of homes. Officials say they want to collect radar, weather, and air traffic communications, as well as the pilot's medical records. Those who lost their homes and have family members in the hospital are still trying to come to terms with what happened here.
Oh my God, a plane crashed into this UPS truck and into this house right by our neighborhood.
My first reaction was, this can't be real.
Is anybody in the house?
James Slaff-Gruel's parents were sitting inside their home watching TV when the plane and the ensuing fireball came ripping through their home. Neighbors who heard the crash came to their rescue, pulling the couple from the burning house.
The people who risk their lives to save Mom and Phil, I have no words. You know, you just cannot say thank you enough. You know, thank you isn't enough. These people just risked everything for people they don't know.
The couple were taken to UC San Diego Medical Center, and their son says they are conscious and talking after suffering third-degree burns, but he's worried.
It's the emotional side that you are kind of, you know, unsure about. You don't know how somebody is going to react to all this once, you know, the shock finally wears off and they see their house like this.
The plane crash killed two people, the pilot and a UPS driver who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Federal investigators are trying to determine what caused the crash, but we know from air traffic recordings that the pilot, who's been identified as Dr. Seguda Das from Yuma, Arizona, kept climbing and then descending his aircraft.
Low altitude alert. Climb immediately. Climb the airplane. Maintain 5,000. Expedite climb. Climb the airplane, please.
Then there was the impact, which neighbors described as a loud boom followed by shaking.
I was able to see my house from the backside, and that's when I knew right away that, you know, it was a total loss. Obviously, it was pretty traumatic.
Cody and Courtney Campbell live in the second house that was completely destroyed. They were both out of the house and at work when the plane crashed, but Cody was supposed to be home early and his wife was unsure at first if he was safe. Just by chance, Cody's mom picked up their 15-year-old dog that morning, likely saving its life. The couple were just married in May and moved in here a few days later. Sometimes working from home, they know this could have had a much different ending.
With all luck, we'll be able to put some of the pieces together. But most importantly, I mean, like I said, we could be doing much different interviews with us right now. And
those things aren't important.
Yeah.
I mean, to get them back would be amazing, but in the end, this is all that matters.
Yeah.
The Campbells and others impacted by this tragedy say they are so grateful for the community support as they work through the process of rebuilding their lives.
We hear you all, and we're super thankful.
Yeah, and that young family is now having to try to figure out where they're going to stay for the foreseeable future. Obviously, they can't return to their home. It's one of the 2 that were completely destroyed. Another 10 were damaged by debris. Now, as far as this federal investigation, the NTSB says a preliminary report is due in about 2 weeks, but the full scope of the investigation will take anywhere from 12 to 24 months. Here in Santee, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The Navy has recovered the bodies of 5 crew members from the USS Lincoln who were killed in a helicopter crash off the coast of San Diego. On August 31st, their Seahawk helicopter crashed off the deck of the carrier roughly 60 miles off the coast from San Diego. The bodies were sent to Dover Air Force Base to be identified before being turned over to the families. The accident is still under investigation. An initial report says the helicopter touched down before its swaying rotor clipped the carrier's deck and then crashed into the ocean. An increase in DUI checkpoints may be coming to San Diego County. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has more on how law enforcement is hoping to prevent more drunk driving deaths.
Despite a decrease in traffic on the roadways during the pandemic, there has been an increase in DUI homicides. It's a tragic reality that can be seen here by this car.
The driver, a 25-year-old woman. She was intoxicated and involved in a crash that injured 4 people. It was a DUI crash that involved no fatalities, but San Diego County District Attorney Summer Stephan says this isn't always the case.
And they are playing Russian roulette with people's lives.
Stephan says San Diego saw its worst year ever in DUI homicides in 2 decades.
This year, there are already 34 DUI fatality cases with 35 victims who didn't come home to their loved ones.
She says they're seeing trends of younger drivers who are intoxicated with both alcohol and drugs. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department says they're also seeing a concerning trend of higher blood alcohol content. On average, those arrested have a BAC that's double the .08 legal limit, and in North County, they're seeing levels even higher than that. Stephan announced a new grant from the Office of Traffic Safety to prevent DUI deaths and to prosecute impaired drivers.
This year's grant funding totals $530,600. That is going to allow our team to get the resources that it needs to continue fighting this battle.
Charles Leonard with the California Highway Patrol says money will be used for education, training, and different prevention measures, which include DUI checkpoints.
With funding like this, our focus would be to increase DUI checkpoints. I can say that we just recently conducted a checkpoint, which was last month, and resulting in 5 DUI arrests. Who knows how many lives that saved.
In the past, DUI checkpoints have been a concern for undocumented immigrants. Teresa Adams Hyder with the Sheriff's Department says immigration status isn't a concern.
There is no look or even bother or concern about what someone's nationality, race, anything of that nature. We are looking at someone who is intoxicated. Period.
Stephan is asking all drivers in San Diego to take a pledge to not drive while intoxicated. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
More than 24,000 nurses and other healthcare workers at Kaiser Permanente in California and Oregon have overwhelmingly authorized a strike. The issues stem from overpay and working conditions strained by the pandemic. Similar strike votes could come in a half dozen other states against Kaiser and one of the nation's largest healthcare providers. As required by law, Kaiser must be given 10 days notice before work stoppages can begin. COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are steadily falling across the country. And here in San Diego County, 13 deaths and 580 cases were reported just today. Top health experts believe we may be out of the Delta wave after Thanksgiving, and they are crediting vaccines for that. But as Isabel Rosales reports, one state's governor is taking action that could slow things down.
Encouraging signs in the battle against COVID-19.
The reason why we're going to get through this and the reason why we're going to accelerate our way through this pandemic to an endemic phase with this virus is because of the vaccine.
Numbers are falling across the board. The U.S. is seeing its lowest average daily death rate in more than a month, according to data from Johns Hopkins University. despite advocacy from doctors.
Yes, the mandates work. Vaccines are what's going to get us out of this pandemic, and I can't say that enough.
Texas is prohibiting vaccine mandates. Republican Governor Greg Abbott on Monday banning any entity, including private businesses, from requiring COVID-19 vaccines for workers or customers. In a statement, he wrote, "The COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and our best defense against the virus, but should remain voluntary and never forced." Abbott's order is a rebuke of President Joe Biden's. The president urging all businesses last month with 100 or more workers to adopt a vaccine mandate or require weekly testing. The governor often drawing the ire of the administration.
Governor Abbott's executive order banning mandates fit a familiar pattern that we've seen of putting politics ahead of public health.
Texas-based businesses like Southwest, American Airlines, and AT&T all currently mandate vaccines for employees. Now questions over what the governor's prohibition means going forward. In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
Moderna is urging the government to authorize a half-size COVID-19 booster dose for some adults. The company is set to meet with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's vaccine advisors Thursday and Friday. Moderna wants to use a half dose as a booster, saying it would increase protection against coronavirus and keep its vaccine supply higher. The FDA is also considering Johnson & Johnson's bid for booster shots. San Diego has a huge military population, and we have new numbers on how they're complying with the vaccine mandate. The deadline for all U.S. armed forces to receive the vaccine is November 28th. And according to the Washington Post, the Navy is leading the way at 90% compliance. As you know, that's a big part of San Diego's military presence. The Marines are at 72%. At the bottom of the list are the Army Reserves and National Guard, where less than half have received their shots. Traffic on the 5 freeway will soon get some relief as construction begins on the last phase of a carpool lane extension. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne tells us when commuters can expect the change.
Commuters traveling on the 5 freeway will soon have access to 9 miles of new carpool lanes, stretching from Solana Beach to Palomar Airport Road in Carlsbad. The lanes will eventually reach the 78 freeway. Alan Kossop with Caltrans says the last phase of the project will be finished next year.
Then the piece that we're beginning today should be open to traffic by the end of next year, 2022.
Carlsbad Mayor Matt Hall says the widening of the I-5 is critical for commuters and the transportation of goods.
I-5 is an extremely important link into not only North County, but all the way to San Diego and even to the Mexico border. It's an integral link for not only the citizens, but also for freight.
Kossop adds that traffic is back to pre-pandemic volume, but the timing of the volumes have changed. He warns drivers to look out for traffic changes while the carpool lanes are being completed.
Starting next week, we will reduce the speed limit through the construction zone to 55 miles an hour. Just like we've done to the south. And then drivers can expect some new orange striping that we're piloting just to give people a heads up that you are in a construction zone.
The carpool lanes are part of the North Coast Corridor project that include improvements to the San Elijo Lagoon, the coaster tracks, bike paths, and pedestrian walkways. The entire project is expected to be completed by 2023. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
From San Diego to other cities across the country, many passengers on Southwest Airlines are experiencing delays and cancellations. The airline says it's fixing the problems that caused the cancellation of nearly 2,400 flights over the previous 3 days. Southwest says bad weather and air traffic control issues in Florida on Friday trapped planes and pilots out of position, causing cascading problems for flights across the country. More Americans are quitting their jobs than ever before. A record 4.3 million people left their jobs in August, according to the Job Openings and Labor Turnover Survey report. That's just shy of 3% of the workforce. It is the highest quit rate since the report began in 2000. Most of the people who left were in food services, wholesale trade, state and local government, as well as education. The report found there were more than 10 million job openings at the end of August. Weather-related disasters like wildfires, hurricanes, heat waves, and flooding are taking a big toll on the U.S. A new report estimates the damage to property and infrastructure $105 billion alone, with 3 months left in the year. Daryl Forges looks at how climate change is creating a disaster for the economy.
Weather.
I've been here for about 30 years and I ain't never seen nothing like this.
To flooding.
The recovery process for this is going to take months.
Droughts and wildfires.
The frequency of fires has skyrocketed.
These are just some of the major climate disasters that have plagued the U.S. so far this year. And the cost is adding up fast. According to NOAA's National Centers for Environmental Information, 18 separate billion-dollar weather and climate disasters occurred in the first 9 months of 2021. And it's taking a toll on the U.S. economy.
This year we have water reductions, but we don't even know if we're going to get that. So this is kind of like my American dream right here. And I hate to see it lost like that.
NOAA predicts 2021 will beat last year's record of 22 individual billion-dollar disasters. And so far, the U.S. has already surpassed the dollar amount spent on climate events in 2020.
We are seeing that wildland fires in California are growing in size, complexity, and frequency.
Hurricane Ida was the most expensive disaster so far this year, causing more than $60 billion in damage and counting, as it tore a deadly path from the Gulf Coast all the way up to the Northeast.
I think fewer and fewer people are climate deniers these days. I think the more you see this kind of thing, the indiscriminate and intense nature of the storms, I'm not sure how you can sit on the sidelines and say, you know, we don't need to do anything.
Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
Evacuations underway as yet another large wildfire burns, this one not far from Highway 101 in Santa Barbara County. More than 2,000 acres charred so far, prompting evacuations of El Capitan State Park, along with campsites, cattle, and horse ranches near Refugio State Beach. Blustery winds making the firefight difficult, and right now no cause has been reported. The Port of San Diego is on the verge of approving an unprecedented plan to replace dirty diesel vehicles with electric-powered ones. As KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson explains, nearby neighborhoods are the big winners.
Port staff have been working out details of a maritime clean air strategy since they first approved the idea in July. The policy creates a blueprint to phase out diesel vehicles working on port facilities. That would eliminate a dangerous source of particle pollution in long-suffering portside communities. But finalizing the plan is just one step.
That's going to take a lot of work to get there, and that we're committed to doing it, and that we have to do it primarily because of the health impacts on the portside communities are unacceptable.
Zuquette says the port needs to commit to a diesel-free future, and he wants to do it before state mandates require it. But community advocates want more details in the policy so progress can be tracked.
Developing a plan, a transition plan, with key tasks, metrics, benchmarks through 2030 that will illustrate how the port will meet its 2030 ZEV goal that was put forth by the board in July.
Serrano says a successful plan needs specific guidance and measurable results, so the port isn't tempted to take on contracts that might actually increase the use of diesel vehicles before the conversion deadline hits. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
We're still a little bit on the breezy side for today across Southern California. Not quite as windy as yesterday and last night. However, still a little bit breezy. Temperatures are going to remain cool again as we head into tomorrow and even Thursday. But there are going to be some brighter days ahead, especially towards the end of the work week. And as we head into the weekend, we're going to be watching a nice warm up that is on the way. For tonight, temperatures getting back down into the 30s in Ramona, 41 for you in Oceanside, 52 out towards San Diego, Borrego Springs falling off into the 40s. And Wednesday is the same old story here. Temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. Winds a little bit on the breezy side, but I do think that's going to be more towards the Rockies here. Southern California not likely going to be seeing those breezy winds. Temperatures for tomorrow afternoon getting up into the upper 70s for you in Borrego Springs, 72 in Escondido, Chula Vista getting up to 73 degrees. And then Thursday, high pressure begins to nose on in here. Our temperatures are still pretty chilly, and we still have that snow that's going to linger longer in the Four Corners area across the Rockies. Looking ahead to the coast over the next couple of days, temperatures I mentioned will be on the rise. We'll get a nice bump here from the 70s. Wednesday and Thursday back up into the 80s as we head into Friday and Saturday. So we'll be returning back to what is normal for this time of year. Further inland, that temperature warming up is going to be apparent too as we get from the 70s on Wednesday and Thursday back up into the low to mid 80s as we head towards Friday and Saturday. In the mountains, not warming up quite as dramatically here. We were in the 40s, but we're going to get back up into the 50s here. And then you'll have to wait a little bit longer here, likely until Sunday, to get that bump up back into the low 70s for highs. And in the deserts, temperatures get back up into the low 80s over the next couple of days and perhaps closer to 90 as we head towards the end of this coming weekend. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
October is Filipino American History Month, so it's the perfect time for San Diego Filipino Cinema to launch its first ever San Diego Filipino Film Festival. The festival runs October 14th through the 19th in a mix of virtual and in-person events. KPBS arts reporter Beth Acamando gives us a preview.
When Benito Bautista and Emma Francisco started making films years ago, they felt like they had no platform to show their work. When they came to San Diego, they decided they wanted to make a difference to both the Filipino and filmmaking communities. So they founded San Diego Filipino Cinema, says Executive Director Bautista.
Our mission is to discover and exhibit compelling films from the global Filipino filmmakers to the diverse community in San Diego.
This week, the nonprofit organization hosts the first ever San Diego Filipino Film Festival, which will showcase more than 40 films in person and another 30 online.
What we're excited about is that we have given San Diego sort of a platform to see and be curious and find out what we have globally, because there are a lot of Filipinos globally. And the experience of a Filipino in Africa or the Philippines or California may not be the same.
It's an opportunity to not just showcase fresh voices, but to support them, says Francisco, who's in charge of programming.
That's really what we're excited about, hopefully to inspire young filmmakers to share their own stories and hopefully give them the tools that they need in order to be a sustainable filmmaker.
But putting on a festival for the first time can be a challenge.
We are inspired, but we're nervous because this is a test. We wanted to see if we can engage the community in participating in familiar stories or stories that they've never heard or stories moving forward that are coming from a younger generation. We don't know how they are going to engage. Will they engage running to the theater? That will be awesome. Or they will not go.
Benita and I have dreamt about this for a long time since, we were in the Philippines filming our films and watching the audience, how films made such an impact to them.
We realized the impact, the transformative impact of cinema and how we can actually change our motivation for existence because of the things that we see and we hear, especially when the filmmaker's there, and then we learn about the process and the meaning and the subtext. It's a shared humanity. It's still we share the same emotions, we share the same struggle and hurt and pain and love and all those things.
Oo. Ano yun yung kasi ako naman.
It is simple, but it is powerful at the same time.
This Thursday's opening night and the awards gala will be at the Mingay Museum in Balboa Park. Christina Godinez, corporate and community liaison for the museum, is excited to show off the newly renovated venues at the Mingay.
I'm excited to use this opportunity to show other arts and culture nonprofit organizations that this space belongs to them. It's not just about Mingay, it's about sharing this space with everyone.
Bautista is excited about the film lineup, starting with the opening night film.
It's a feature documentary that represents Asian American women, music, aging, discrimination. It's entitled Fanny.
Bautista is not only thrilled to be showing these films, but also to be showing many of them in person, because there's a magic to watching films together.
And the reason is because we might be 4 people in the theater, but we share the fluctuations and the emotional ups and downs of the film. And I'm excited to experience that with the audience.
With an impressive and diverse slate of films, San Diego Filipino Film Festival will attract far more than 4 people. It's a welcome addition to San Diego's rich array of film festivals and offers a wonderful complement to our San Diego Asian Film Festival by allowing an even greater representation of a Filipino perspective. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, aspirin warning. Medical experts now say the risks of taking a small daily dose likely outweigh the benefit for some older Americans. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's another look at today's top stories. National Transportation Safety Board agents are leading the investigation following that deadly plane crash in Santee. They are collecting radar, weather, and air traffic communications, as well as the pilot's medical records. The pilot has been identified as Dr. Sugata Das from Yuma, Arizona. We're told he also had a home here in San Diego. A UPS driver was also killed. The NTSB says a preliminary report is expected in about 2 weeks. And construction on that last phase of a carpool lane extension on I-5 is underway. The work will start on Palomar Airport Road in Carlsbad and extend to the 78 freeway. 9 miles of new carpool lanes from Solana Beach to Carlsbad are expected to open by the end of the year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.